Boom, shaka, laka, boom. You've tuned in to the free-range human show of choice, your daily dose of reality radio. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I'm, of course, Clay Edwards. It is a hump day. You know what time it is. I do not miss the hump day commercials at all. Here in the studio, my partner in crime, Mr. SHAUN Yurtkuran. Good morning, SHAUN.
Good morning. Good morning.
How you doing?
Man, great. That's great. You know, got up early and made it over here. The weather's not bad. So
We're supposed to get some weather here,
Yeah.
I think. I watched about 5 minutes of the news last night and said we're going to have some cooler temps, but it's going to come with some bad weather.
yeah, that'd be nice. It's been pretty. Man, it was hot last weekend.
It was. It was. All right. Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. Guys, get over to Guns and Gear today. Get you some guns, of course, ammo, home of no limit ammo. And, of course, they can take care of all your gunsmithing and Cerakoting needs as well. Locally owned, locally operated. You know, it's a gun store ran by gun guys. Go see Hunter today. Speaking of Hunter, he will be on here with my buddy Tyler Monday with me. We're going to be having a 2A roundtable conversation Monday for a whole 2 hours. We're going to hit a lot of gun topics, answer all your gun questions that we can. Now, admittingly, I tell y'all all the time, I'm not a gun guy, but I own guns. You know, like I like them, I support them, but I barely know the difference in a 40 cal and a 9mm. Or any of that kind of stuff, but I know I like them. These guys know them, upside down, inside out. So we'll have a ton of gun conversation this upcoming Monday. It'll be brought to you by Guns and Gear. So get over there this weekend. Check them out in person. Shop them online. GunsandGearMS.com. Located right there on Highway 51 North at Yandell Road in Gluckstadt. That's Guns in Gear. The phone line this morning, if you want to call in, 601, the Mazda of Jackson phone line, that is, 601-879-0002, 601-879-0002. I know we got a bunch of new listeners out there. I've been looking at the numbers. Thank you all. Would love to hear from you. First-time callers, first-time texters. If you text, shoot me the name you want me to save in the phone so I don't have to say unknown texter. All right, SHAUN, shift gears for a second here. Mm-hmm. Something I'm actually I'm kind of hot to trot about this morning. Jackson Redevelopment Authority got a grant, and they're going to waste $1.5 million turning a portion of that's already green space, mind you, on Farish Street into green space with some trees and a stage of sorts for free type concerts and stuff like that nobody's going to do down there. I mean, I may go host my first annual, I'm the one that started this whole 601 day, June 1st thing. Mm-hmm. I have the proof on the website, the whole 9 yards. But I've noticed that Jackson has since stolen my idea. Been around for, we've been the 601 area code forever. Nobody ever did it. It dawned on me one day, oh, crap, June 1st, 601 day. Mm-hmm. Me and Robert Graham, that has the Brandon 042 page, put a thing together, and I did like a live broadcast, promoted a bunch of local businesses for free, and then poof, what do you know it? The next year, Jackson, we're having a 601 day to celebrate Jackson business. Well, hold on now. Brandon and Rankin and Madison is in the 601 too. And a lot of other towns. That ain't a Jackson exclusive.
Tell you what, though, I mean, Jackson's pretty good at stealing things. So
touche. Touche. So I'm thinking about maybe next year, just because I like to poo-poo on the haters, maybe do a Save Jackson Fest on June 1st on Fair Street.
Huh. I mean, I'm trying to think about that. Is that if something, something happened during the Save Jackson Fest on Fair Street?
Well, I'm sure something will.
There's not really much around there. Yeah, I still go down there, probably weekly, I guess, when I'm cutting through back from my office. And there's just no activity really over there, much at all during the day.
I'm just thinking some acts that would really draw well with Jacksonians. Maybe Kid Rock, David Allan Coe.
Yeah, okay, man. I'm not. So I will not be attending the new annual 601 Day Jackson.
Let's see here. Who's some more pro-Trump kind of rappers, rockers? Maybe. Anyway, we'll work on the lineup.
Ted Nugent.
Oh yes.
Ted Nugent down there.
But,
no, that's all.
We'll work on the lineup.
I'll skip on. I don't want to get shot. So
are you
skip out?
Are you admitting that Jacksonians are violent towards people of different cultures?
I think that it's Jacksonians are violent against everybody. It seems like it doesn't matter who you are. You're gonna get robbed. Or something.
Let's play this story here from WLBT real quick, and I have lots of thoughts. Mm.
If you've been waiting for happenings in the historic Farish Street district, change could be coming to the area described as an urban heat island. As our Rosalind Anderson reports, a $1.5 million...
I've got my first thought.
I read that this morning, too, the urban heat island. What does that mean?
Heat island. Well, they go on to tell us in here, it's an area that's hotter than other areas. I'm like, really? It's downtown. There's a lot of concrete. There's a lot of buildings.
Yeah.
It's going to be hotter downtown. But they keep coming up with these, like, food deserts.
Yeah.
Now, you live in a town that's not by a grocery. It's a food desert. You're blocked. This is some left wing progressive talking points now because it's global warming.
I read that this morning. I just never heard that phrase before. Urban heat island. But
all right, let's continue.
Grant will be used to create a green space for leisure and entertainment.
A year from now, we're going to see a vibrant area on Farish Street where people can congregate.
The Jackson Redevelopment Authority and 2C Mississippi announced a partnership that promises to transform a portion of Farish Street into an urban forest. Plans for 3 parcels of land include a large green space and trees and a stage for entertainment surrounded by shade and vegetation.
This area in general, Farish Street, is recognized as an urban heat island. That means it is much hotter than the rest of the city. We know that people love coming here. We want them to come here. We want them to spend time outside, but we do not put their health at risk.
For decades, there have been failed plans to revitalize the area.
No kidding.
yeah.
Officials say a $1.5 million grant from the U.S. Forestry Service will pay for the project, which will attract more people and developers to the historic district.
We think this is going to send signals to folks who really want to do investment in Farish Street that we're really serious.
Sean, what do you think would signal to investors to come to Farish Street? You think it's a green space with some vegetation?
I'm just thinking, how did when you want to complain, especially y'all side, about spending money needlessly, the federal government, this is a pretty good example right here. $1.5 million on a green space on Farish Street when nobody's ever there.
There's three open businesses that I'm aware of that like foot traffic businesses. You got the Big Apple, and that's just people grab stuff to go.
Yeah,
I don't know how much dine-in business they do, but hey, I love Gino Lee.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Great legendary establishment. You've got Johnny T's.
Formerly the Birdland.
Lots of things have happened there, but John's done a great job running that place.
Yeah, it's really nice now. Yeah.
I don't even. Is it even open for lunch?
I don't know. I've only been there at night.
And then, of course, something that I don't even know if it opens before 10 o'clock at night is F. Jones.
Yeah.
And I just say that this is no knock on any of those establishments. They've all been there a long time. They're iconic in their own rights.
Sure.
However, we're building a green space that's supposed to be something that's kind of used during the daytime, I presume. Afternoons, block parties, stuff like that. That's where my mind goes.
Yeah.
Fondren, First Thursdays, mid-afternoon type stuff.
Yeah.
That's not going to draw another single individual to Farish Street within the 3 businesses that currently operate there. And those buildings down there are in no condition.
Yeah.
They're not going to be rented out anytime soon. They are literally just shells of buildings. I know this because Chip Matthews and I had gone as far as to preparing to rent one back around 2003 when the last we're going to revitalize Farish Street popped up.
Mm-hmm.
And it never happened. They were even throwing block parties, and we would set up in front of our establishment that we were going to do business in. You got a thought?
No. Go ahead. I'm listening to you.
No. You look like there's
No, I was listening to you.
Anyway, that's all I got.
No, I mean, the street's a really cute street if anybody goes down there. Really, I mean, you could see it one time. It was probably really.
Oh, there's
really
a funeral home on there too.
Yeah, there is. I mean, you could see it was really nice at one point in history, and I mean, it's not anymore. And I do drive down there. I mean, probably I'll cut through there once a week. And I mean, even on the weekends, there's no foot traffic. There's nothing going on over there. So I don't know what they think is going to come from green spaces out there when there's just not really any commerce really for the most part
and
going on.
This is from the Forestry Commission. Man, I get it. It's air quotes in the studio, free money to do something with. Mm-hmm. I'm not hating on that sense. I get it. Look, if I just can't sit here and say that Jacksonians deserve anything nice until you can get red lights working, until you can fill up. I can drive you to a pothole right now that blew my tire out a couple months ago that is still there on the corner of Lamar and Pearl Street.
Yeah, I think that goes into, we even have discussed it before.
One's not the same, but they are the same.
Right. I mean, I think we discussed it before. Like, it's kind of like, I feel like fun time is over at this point in Jackson in terms of like having, things for recreational purposes. Right. We have to focus on things like crime and traffic signals working properly. Obviously, the water system's improved. I think that's I think that should be the focus. So all this other stuff, like, I mean, to me at this point, we could shut down Thalamera, whatever else it is, whatever we got to put the money in the main stuff to keep the city functioning, because we're at that point now that where the city is not functioning, and putting money in anything else or, diverting. I know this is federal government grant money or whatever it is, but if I was the city, I'd be like, no, we can use this for the traffic signals. Like, I think that would be more appropriate.
They move money around any other time they want to.
Yeah. I mean, close down all the parks at this point, all the whatever money we're spending there. Let's just focus on the ways that we need to make the city actually operate, which it doesn't do very well.
Let's take a call from Derek on the Mazda Jackson phone line. Hey, Derek, you on there?
Hey, Clay, the only thing that's going to do is allow the homeless to congregate between the trees, right?
That's what it's going to end up being, 100% correct.
Yeah, it's going to be a homeless campground, right? Think of it as a homeless KOA. I mean, listen, the best thing Jackson could have done when it comes to recreation or bringing business is to develop the cotton-picking canals. Because the way I've seen an old plan, downtown's water duct system was originally has a setup to be similar to a river walk, just like in San Antonio.
It does.
You had some people that wanted.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was saying, actually, when we were talking about renting a spot down there, the master plans in David Watkins' office, the sketches actually had them digging up the town creek and rerouting it and actually having a river walk down there. It has the ability.
Right. I've seen it. And the one guy that wanted the original development of the Two Lakes project that was going to use a good portion of his money, that was a part of it. But Daddy Lumumba, his biggest concern, who can afford the housing? That was the stupidest thing I've heard in my life. This is going to make the housing go up and people not going to be able to afford the housing. You freaking idiot.
Well, they've turned the word gentrification into a dirty word.
Yes. I mean, that's about the best thing you could do for the downtown area right now. Then everything else will experience the trickle-down effect. Yeah. But trying to put some money into something that you've already screwed up because of your feelings is not going to work. It's not going to work at all.
And I mean, I think what Derek says.
I'm not gonna hold the time up, but I wanted to say this. I want to give a quick disclaimer, if it's okay with you, Clay.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear no more black people talk about Nazis and racism and things like that when your liberal government has given literal Nazis in the form of the Azov Brigade, part of the Ukraine military, $60 billion. So who's the biggest sponsor of terrorism? The Democratic Party.
Amen.
Thank you, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's right about the green space. It's going to be a homeless camp.
Yeah, we just had a texter that texted in and said the same thing.
I mean, it's that's total. And I did too. I got a friend of mine that texted me and said green space equals new homeless camp.
I know. I can't believe I missed that one.
Me too. He's it's like JPD's going to have to put out like guard towers. There's going to be like a death sentence to go over there. And a friend of mine texted me that. I was like, that's a really good point. You can't. I mean, it's just going to just concrete. Smith Park is like that for the most part.
It's just putting the buggy in front of the horse.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I can make a million examples of why this doesn't make any sense. There's got to be somewhere else you could use that that grant that would be better suited.
Yeah, like the traffic signals. Going back to that again. I mean, I think it kind of goes back to what Kim Wade always says about a big announcement too. I wonder if this ever actually happens. Like, is this one of those things that's just never going to really happen?
During the break, I'm setting a Siri reminder.
Mm-hmm.
because he said in 1 year we're going to have a vibrant space with people out here enjoying concerts and shade. And like, have you ever thought to yourself, I'm going to go outside and enjoy the shade today?
No, especially not in July.
No.
I mean, that's, I was just.
I'm going to enjoy the shade in my house and my air on 60.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. You may know the answer to it. How many things over the last 25, let's say it's 2000, almost 25 years now, right, that they've announced in Jackson that have actually come to fruition? And I mean, and so the first two things that come to pop in my head are the King Edward actually went through, and that actually which was shocking to all of us, I think, that are older.
Out of town money.
Yeah, but I mean, that was was a big thing that I don't think anybody really thought that was ever going to happen, and it did happen.
I didn't think the convention center would happen.
That was my next one, the convention center. Yep. So those two things, of all the announcements that have happened about what we're going to do in downtown Jackson, like the Trustmark Park was supposed to be in downtown Jackson, that got blown up. The Farish Street project that never happened. I mean, there's that. What about remember the Howland Mouse Commerce Street project that was going?
That was all a scam.
That stuff. That was going to happen. That never happened.
What about JSU's Dome Football Stadium?
The Dome Football Stadium. There's another one.
But they really got their hopes up on that. Let's take a break. Yeah, hey, I tell you what. This is our question of the day. What is something that was a big announcement made about coming to Jackson, and it never happened? Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. Mazda of Jackson phone line, 601-879-0002. We'll be right back. We got some Goon Squad stuff coming up, too, in the top of hour 2. It's not that appropriate for the 7 a.m. hour, just in case you got kids in the car last couple of days of school here. So stay tuned for that. Big new Goon Squad story dropped this morning from Jerry Mitchell and his team. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show here on WYAB. Guys, make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel at SaveJXN. I'm dropping a video every morning between the 5 and 6 a.m. hour. I dropped 2 this morning. I stay up late and watch the news, so you don't have to. And I make a video about whatever I think the most relevant story is. I'm trying to keep it very, very local to the Jackson Tri-County area. Put up a video this morning giving my thoughts and opinions on the Farish Street stuff that we just discussed, as well as Jackson's 49th homicide. And we may get to that. We may not get to that. But just make sure you're following me on YouTube at SaveJXN. You'll see my name pop up, Clay Edwards. Hit subscribe and hit the little bell for those notifications. And, man, I can't ask you enough. Please share a video, leave a comment, hit the like. The algorithm, it is like unlocking a road paved with gold. If they think people like it, they will, in fact, recommend it to others. And that is how we beat cancel culture. That is how we grow an independent media empire, so to say. So, anyway, please do that for your boy. Real quick, tonight, Burgers, Blues, Barbecue, downtown. Let me channel my inner Chip Matthews, circa 2002, 2003. Downtown, Brandon. At Burgers, Blues, Barbecue. It's the next to final round. What do they call that, Sean? The semifinals?
Yeah.
Semifinals of the Cordless Corner open mic competition. It's going to be a blast. We've been having 200-300 people show up every week. Last week was the biggest turnout to date. It's been growing in popularity, which is phenomenal. Hopefully, I think we'll have a big announcement coming soon about maybe continuing something out there at Burgers, Blues, Barbecue on Wednesday night. So stay tuned for that. It lasts from 7 to 10. Tonight, they got to play one 90s country song, one 80s rock song, and then one original. This is right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I mean, as long as they don't goof up the original, and I have no reason to believe they will, because they have been bringing the pain with their originals. Really, really good stuff. I'm telling you, Sean, Mississippi's greatest export is Mississippians. Mm-hmm. That is what we offer to the world that it's taken for granted.
Sports, music.
Yep.
Just tons of stuff. Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
Right, authors. We've got some of the best authors in history. Yeah.
Athletes, everything. Mm-hmm. Well, you said sports. I'm sorry. Yeah, 100%. And look, get out there. And there's these two, and I don't want to do anybody else a disservice because everybody's great and anybody can win this thing. There's these two brothers known as the Stevens brothers. Mm-hmm. They're, I think, 18 and 21. They play some acoustic shows around here. Nice. If their finances allow, I don't know their family situation, whatever. If they can get to Nashville, they will be and I'm only using this duo as an example because of popularity, like Florida Georgia Line. They've got that ability with the females, the good-looking guys. They got a ton of stage energy. And, again, I know Florida Georgia Line's kind of a butt of jokes, but they were super-duper famous, and chicks dug them. These guys have that ability as a duo to transcend that type level if they get the opportunity. And then there's this little brother and sister dynamic, something about playing with family members. I think they may be Indian. I'm not 100% sure. Possibly Gypsy. I don't know. They're from Meridian.
Okay.
And they're called Cookie Woo, W-U. And their parents had to have been 80s hard rock heavy metal fans.
Yeah.
They wear Poison and Motley Crue shirts, and they play rock. They don't have like the most what you call bedside manners, like between songs. They don't chat a lot with you. But when they're on and they're playing, it is phenomenal.
So it's 90s country, a 90s country song, right?
90s country or an 80s rock.
You pick which one you want to do?
Yeah, they get to pick.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Either one of that's going to be neat.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about country music, but I do know a lot about 90s country music because that just sticks in my head.
Well, you got Garth before you turn into a nut job. You got, so many. Rick Trevino. I can peel the onion back on some C-tier country music from the 90s. That was the best stuff.
Yeah, I've got
Alan Jackson.
I've got a Pickup Man on one of my Spotify playlists. I was listening to. I was working out the other day.
Little Joe Diffie.
Yeah,
Joe Diffie.
That was a great song,
All right, so that's tonight, man. Didn't mean to spend half the segment talking about doing an ad read there, but it's more about Mississippians. Y'all get out to Burgers Blues Barbecue tonight from 7 to 10. I'll be there. Not broadcasting live, but I'll be there hanging out. Chad Wesley's one of the judges. Old Bender, Brandon Walker, and Naomi Taylor, I think is her name, local singer. She's really good too. Nice. So y'all get out there, check us out, enjoy some good food, cold beer, good drinks. They got it all at Burgers Blues Barbecue. If there's any games on, they got a couple dozen 70-inch TVs. They'll be blaring on the TVs. The hockey games have been on. I'm guessing there's basketball tonight too. I don't know that to be true, but I just assume. I don't watch it. But anyway, see you tonight, Burgers Blues Barbecue. Sean, I hate to do this, but let's just go ahead and take our break.
Okay.
Stay on schedule. When we come back, we will pick up where we left off. This is the Clay Edwards Show with Shaun Yurtkuran. Again, we got the Goon Squad story. We're going to hit it at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. I think when we come back, I want to get outside the local box a little bit. How about we talk about Robert De Niro getting cucked outside the Trump trial yesterday? Sounds like fun to me. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Guys, we'll save the ad read to the end of the segment. I know we just did a whole segment that was an ad read, and I don't want to burn y'all out on that. Two things here. We're going to start. I asked y'all your questions, and we got Robert De Niro queued up. I asked you the questions about biggest failed projects, and we're going to take it outside of Jackson too, because I don't think it's fair just to say Jackson. Because first and foremost, and these are all on the Guns and Gear text line, Harbor Walk.
Yeah, that's the number one. I mean, what a scam.
Horrible. And, they kind of poked that dead horse a little the other day. Did you hear my story about it?
No, I did not.
Yeah, so it's not dead yet. Apparently some company's paying $600,000 a year for that lease out there.
Yeah.
And they just re-upped to like a 30 or 60-year lease on the whole thing. And, I mean, obviously they're probably making good money on those boat slips and all out there. But there is a master plan getting ready to be re-revealed. And fingers crossed, something comes of that. So we'll see.
I remember, man.
It's a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that has this master lease. It's not this guy that was originally trying to hustle that thing together or whatever that was. Some legitimate, massive real estate holdings, oil company type deal out of Texas has this thing. So access to funds is not the issue.
Well, I remember, do you remember when that was going down around, I think the dock closed around 2004, but I remember going to it wasn't the Jackson Airport, it was like 2003, 2004, and they would have little, signs up for what Harbor Walk was going to look like, and all these artist renditions. I remember being in the airport looking at it, and my dad looked over and was like, yeah, maybe we need to buy one of those, and thank God that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. So, Mansplain texts in and says Again, Mansplain must not have been listening to the first 20 minutes of the show. Says there's a green space on Farish Street between the Federal Building and MC School of Law. Is this where that's going? I noticed this morning the graph. Okay, so I did not read all that correctly. Yeah, I believe that is where they're talking about there. It's a green space. They're going to convert to a green space. Oh. Let that soak in.
That's so Jackson.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a green space. They're going to convert to a green space.
It was John Burrell who spearheaded the Harbor Walk thing.
Okay.
Now, you've heard rumors of years that was a scam. I mean, was it a scam? Did he take people's money?
I don't know. Did he? I thought he did, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, me too. I just, that's some of those urban legend type things. I don't know that he did. I just think that they closed the dock and people thinks that was the scam. They just wanted the dock closed.
Okay. Maybe. I mean,
I don't know. We'd have to ask somebody who's more plugged into that.
Right. Yeah. I thought he. I had to find out. I don't know if he took any money or not. I mean, I guess there would have been a prosecution or some sort if that happened. And yeah. So maybe not.
Let's see here. Metro Center Mall.
What?
I mean, I know that crazy lady. A lot of y'all got y'all's hopes up that crazy lady was going to redo the Metro Center, but I never had my hopes up that crazy lady was going to redo the Metro Center. I tried to tell y'all that was a scam on the front end, and all of you got so caught up in black woman buys biggest mall in the South. I was like, I know how this is going to end before it begins. Then she put those ridiculous signs out front announcing high-rise condos and roller coasters. I'm like, ooh-wee. She jumped all the way in.
Yeah, I think it's just any project in Jackson just generally doesn't. There's a big announcement, and then you don't ever hear anything. The ones that we were just talking about, like the King Edward worked out, Standard Life, went through, and then wasn't there the Edison Walthall they redid? I believe that's correct, isn't it, Clay? Like they redid that. That's actually people are living in there now.
Yeah, Edison Walthall, the old federal courthouse building, which is really neat. I got to take a tour of it as they were doing it. And I can't believe it was like 3 years ago. I can't believe it took them so long to finish, or maybe it was finished and they just decided now it's time to open it up.
So there's people living in the old federal courthouse now.
Well, they're available. I don't know if they're living there yet.
Okay,
but there was a big ribbon cutting the other day.
Yeah,
it's super cool, man. They have condos in there that were old courtrooms.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And they left the judge's tower.
Oh, did they? The bench
and all that.
Oh,
and like behind it, where his chambers would be, is like the kitchen.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, there's one that was a library. I mean, one's a vault, obviously. Then downstairs, in the bottom of it, was going to be like a speakeasy, kind of similar to Gallows.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's what all they've done. It's a nice gym in there, and there's that skywalk that connects it and the Edison Walthall.
Wow. Yeah, I remember going into that courthouse when it was still open, and there was an old post office before it was a courthouse, I think.
Yeah, well, that's down there still, and it's really, really neat. Okay. They built a bar down around all that. It's cool what they did there. I've got a ton. I actually got a video that I made and put on YouTube.
Did you?
Of my tour down there.
I'm going to have to look
with
at
a bunch of pictures and stuff.
You don't know if it's open yet or not? Does anybody know out there? Text in?
Well, they just I'll tell you, they just did the ribbon cutting the other day.
They did the ribbon cut the other day.
Yeah.
So like people will start moving in there. So it's going to be a new bar to hang out?
I don't know if the bar's open or any of that.
That's my first question. Is the bar open?
Yeah, I don't know about all that. I think we would probably heard about it, but anyway, so there's supposed to be a speakeasy. Now, this was 3 or 4 years ago when I did the tour when they were doing the construction.
Sure.
COVID has happened since, so who knows?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, that'd be really cool. I mean, they've been successful about those kinds of downtown apartments. At least they've been successful about that.
Yeah, because that's outside investors that are getting some money to come in, and it's a urban revitalization.
Yeah.
Money and all that. And that's Sonny and his. I can't remember Sonny's last name. Him and his crew had the bumpers around and a lot of gas stations and stuff. They I think they got the same project. They're redoing the old Harrah's in Vicksburg.
Okay.
And they did Edison Walthall. They're doing the federal. They do business the right way. They're good folks. And when he gave me a tour of it, and man, it's really, really cool.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch that video. I'm kind of interested in seeing it.
And the thing that sucks, man, is you got people like that ready to put this money in. And like somebody built a really cool bar down there, and I don't know that it's not open, but I haven't seen nothing else about it. There was like a really cool bar right there on Capitol Street. It kind of had a weird name, but like if you were going up Capitol, I guess you'd be going east on Capitol. It'd be on the right there. It was called like Fun Times, or I don't know. I can't remember the name of it. I know Daryl played there a couple times, and they had a big grand opening, and I just don't think it worked.
Didn't work out. I just thought about something else too. I lived downtown for about 8 years, I guess, and there was, when I moved to the King Edward, I was like one of the first people who moved in there in like January of 2010, and they had that across the street right there, you know, they were saying that was going to be like a grocery store and all these kinds of things, and they were going to put, you know, different kind of like, you know, convenience stores, grocery stores, maybe a bar, liquor store, and none of that ever happened.
Where at?
Right across the street from King Edward. Like that whole area was supposed to be built up. And I think they did build some like maybe artist loft apartments, what they were calling them, or they were doing it.
Cheap stuff for artistic people to live there.
Something like after that, you know, after that whole plan about the whole grocery store kind of stuff like failed out. So that didn't happen either. But and that's what now I don't know that the King Edward, did it ever sell, by the way? Did they ever sell it? Or
I don't know. I think it did get new owners, actually, now that you mention it. Unknown texture says it wasn't a failure, but Jackson Medical Mall succeeded. Well, it's not really on topic. I mean, yes, look, better that it's working, but we're talking about like big announcements that didn't happen.
Yeah. I mean,
like there was that Jackson Fest last year.
Yes,
that was supposed to happen out there at Butts Park.
Oh God, yeah.
And you know, obviously some financial hardships hit. And now look, I'm not going to punch a promoter while he's down.
No, I'm talking about obviously my Butts Park. I used to take my mountain bike out there and go back, and it's a little sketchy, now.
I love that area, man.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a great place to have a music festival. But as a former concert promoter, let me tell you, if I had a booking agent tell me one time, if you lose every penny you do on this, it shouldn't make you don't need to be promoting concerts if you can't lose every penny without it making a bill late, miss a meal, any of that. Do not do this because you think you're going to hit a lick.
Okay.
And that really resonated. I didn't listen for a few years. You lose everything a couple times. You start saying, okay, if I'm investing $100,000 into something, if I can't make $100,000 or $50,000 or whatever some big number is, like the old juice has got to be worth the squeeze.
Sure.
I mean, you ain't going to spend $100,000 in a 2-day music festival, and it's probably going to be more than that, bringing in stage and lighting and production and staff and artists and everything else. Yeah, but it got canceled that week of, I believe. But that goes back to the city. The city shouldn't just be issuing permits. The city should, if the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the mayor is going to do press conferences announcing these big events and this, that, and the other, they need to check the funds.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of show, hey, we're going to all end up with mud on our faces if this don't work. And that's just like the most recent thing. Of course, we can talk about Jubilee Jam, but that's not necessarily, maybe some other people could argue, but that's not necessarily the city's fault. Mm-hmm. The city sold Jubilee Jam, I believe, to Beaver Productions.
Okay.
And, they made it a private deal. They took it away from the Arts Council or whatever. And they brought in a couple really cool Jubilee Jams, two of the better lineups back-to-back years, I believe. And for whatever reason, I'm guessing Jackson got in the middle of it, and Jubilee Jam said, we're out.
I'm doing it.
Beaver Productions is still around making money.
Yeah.
Still doing big concerts. So I don't think it's because Beaver went out of business. Mike Watkins asked, do you think we'll ever get a Jubilee Jam type festival again? Not in Jackson.
I don't see that.
Yeah, you had an opportunity when Andy and them were trying to do the Crawfish Bowl down at the Coliseum the last couple of years until the Crawfish Festival massacre.
I mean, I think we're holding on to the St. Patty's Day Festival, to be honest with you, after the murder a year ago. I know everything went well this year, and I was really happy about that. But I mean, everybody was, of course. But I think when you have those kinds of things in Jackson, you're susceptible to violence. Let's just be quite frankly. I mean, just the way things are right now. Yeah, I mean, look, you got probably 20% of Jacksonians who run around here and think Jackson is a Grand Theft Auto 5 video game. Yeah, I mean,
it's just, I don't care how good of a job Capitol Police do. I don't care how good of a job JPD's trying to do. None of that matters when half the population not half. A good 20% of the population does not care about consequences or repercussions or have any value for human life.
Yeah, I mean, I think that video yesterday, good example, right? The one you put up, the one on ABT. I mean,
the video of the two black kids walking up and just randomly shooting at the white family to carjack them in West Jackson. Man, first off, if the racial roles were reversed in that, Crump and Sharpton and everybody would be skydiving out of planes to get here into Jackson, Mississippi. LeBron James would be on the TV. They're hunting us down at our homes in the streets. but it doesn't fit that narrative, so you barely hear anything about it outside of a little viral video here and there. But yeah, man, when they're doing stuff like that in Jackson, there's a culture issue that no go-kart track, Top Golf, movie theater, or anything else is going to fix.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought, the way they walked up to
a basketball court.
Yeah, I mean, they walked to those people and just started shooting, and then they couldn't figure out how to take the first car, and they took the second one. And I mean, if things are just so brazen, you're walking up to people's home. They look like they were having a little graduation thing too. It was like a
when you have a senior that lives in the home, you'll put those class of 2020 whatever in the yard, and they had a senior that was living there. There was 2 young kids in the back seat. This woman, I guess, has a lot of kids, so she was standing outside the car with one kid. Then her oldest son and her daughter were in the car with the 2 young kids in the back seat. I'm like, well, where's the spouse of these kids? But neither here nor there. Of course, now she started to GoFundMe to try to move out of Jackson. And, man, I was getting close to saying, then I realized she's friends with Stacy over at the Mississippi Free Press. I was like, man, I'm out. What left did you take when you should have took a right?
Yeah, right. I mean, I just, we're seeing that kind of violence just on unsuspecting victims, whether they be black or white. It's just like, if you're willing to go out to a human being and just start shooting, taking their car, like we're that level of what it is, I think why would anybody have any festival here? Because, I mean, if you have a festival, like, it's just easy to walk up to somebody with all the people and rob them and do whatever you got to do. So it's just too dangerous.
It is, man. I mean, it's too dangerous for anything family related. To be able to let your guard down, you just can't. I mean, there's going to be some events that have good promoters. Like, there's a tattoo festival coming. Those guys are good promoters. It's at the Coliseum. It's at the the convention center, and it's also the kind of audience that goes to those things. It's kind of an F around and find out audience. It isn't scared to go to those kind of things in Jackson, if that makes sense. I mean, that is a compliment too, by the way. So it's kind of like I wish an MF Wood crowd. When you're talking about a music festival, you're talking about people coming from all over. They got to let their guard down and feel safe. And, man, Jackson just can't offer that right now.
Yeah, it's going to take, before we start worrying, it's like you just said earlier, put the buggy, the cart before the horse. I mean, until we start worrying about those kinds of things, we're going to have a leadership change, whether it be a Kim Wade or a Corinthian or somebody like that that has to right the ship before we can start bringing in those kinds of, before we can start having fun again. Like I was saying earlier, before you can have fun, you got to have stability and safety, and then you can worry about, having fun. So.
Yep. All right, let's take a break, come back, land the plane for hour 1. We got a whole nother hour to go here on the Clay Edwards Show, and I do indeed promise we're going to get to the Donald Trump, Robert De Niro stuff, as well as we got this Goon Squad story that broke this morning. We'll be right back on WYAB. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Guys, we got minute and a half here, so to close out, why don't we just peruse over a couple more of your texts on the Guns and Gear text line, if I can get it to pull up in time. Spartacus from Jackson says, First Thursdays in Fondren is not the same either. Well, because Cheney is not involved at the level he once was, if my memory serves me correct, and that was Cheney's brainchild, so to say. And there's a lot of people in Jackson that really took Cheney for granted and his love for Jackson, and I don't want to speak for him. I never would put words in his mouth or anything, but the ship has sailed a little bit when Woke Jackson is calling Cheney a racist.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
What?
What's his name, man, that owns the comic book shop?
Oh, yeah.
DJ Venom.
Yes.
I think he used to work for him or something, and then he went and started his own thing and started calling Cheney a racist and this, that, and of course, he's called me a racist umpteen times, and I used to have a good relationship with him, too.
Okay.
But it's just what they do. The second you disagree with them, the second you don't go along and do what they want to do, or the second they want your business, they'll just tell people that, oh, well, you're racist. Like this,
wow.
All this is going to come to an abrupt halt at some point, and it's going to be hard for those folks to do business. Because they're going to have called everybody racist.
Yeah.
And alienated 50% or more of their potential business. Anyway, didn't mean to go on that rant. We will see y'all back here in 7 minutes on WYAB. Podcaster. Boom goes the dynamite. You tuned in to the Free Range Human Show of Choice. It's hour 2 of the most incendiary show on the radio here in Central Mississippi. Guys, A1 Gear and Auto, get over there today for all of your automotive repair and diagnosing needs. If you've got something going on with your vehicle, don't know what it is, Justin and his team will find out what it is, let you know exactly how much it's going to cost you and exactly how long it's going to take to fix it. I can't express that enough, Sean, is how astute they are on not wasting your time.
That's important.
It truly is. We've now had to use them probably 10 times in the last year and a half or so between the girlfriend's car, my car, kids' cars, parents' cars. I mean, it's where we send everything now. Mm-hmm. And I'm just amazed that we haven't, knock on wood, had to send anything back for the same thing twice.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean? It's fixed right the first time.
That's really important, because how many times have you taken a car somewhere and you have to take it back?
Sure. Look, he called me the other day to tell me how much that alternator was going to be on my daughter's BMW, and I said, "Oh dear God, what have I done?"
Got her a BMW. That's what you did?
Yeah. And then he says, "Well, I thought it was going to take a couple of days." That was around 9:00 that morning. Mm-hmm. No sooner than it took me to get set back down on my desk at the house to start doing some work, I got the call, "Car's ready." I'm like, I was hoping it was going to take a couple of days so I could find part ways of my hard-earned money.
Yeah, it's like, I know your money's going, but you just like to have it just for a couple of days.
Yeah, just like Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah, just swimming in
hold it just a little bit longer.
That's it.
I was going to make an anti-Semitic joke.
Oh, God.
I can't do it. Anyway, get over there, A1. It's actually not anti-Semitic. We've got to get back away from that. Stereotyping should be A-OK.
Yeah, I was listening to last night to Candace Owen and Bill Maher having a discussion about that. How, like, if you got close friends from different ethnic groups, racial groups, like making fun of each other's, like those things.
It's okay.
It also makes you closer. That's what Candace Owen was saying. I was like, that's true, because me and my buddies that go back from high school with, they're all Mexican or black and Jewish, and I'm obviously Turkish. We say the most brutal things to each other. If our text messages ever got released.
Right, hold on, I want to circle back to that. Let me finish this A1 ad, because I don't want to intertwine these two things.
No, don't do it. Yeah,
I don't want to intertwine these two things.
A1 doesn't sponsor that.
A1 does not sponsor that. Look, get over there for all your automotive repair needs, whether it's a check engine light, air not blowing cold, anything. But what they specialize in is your ring and pinion. If you're having any issues with your four-wheel drive, your transfer case, your rear end, got a roar, got some slack in it, get it over there. Let them check it out today. The only thing they do not work on is diesel engine repairs. We have a great sponsor here at WYAB that does, in fact, work on diesel engines. They don't sponsor this show, so I'll give you their contact information off air if you need a diesel engine repair. But they can do everything else to that diesel truck for you at A1 Gear and Auto. All right. Sean, yeah, I agree, man. It is okay to I got into this. Remember, it was last year. Somebody took a picture of me and my girlfriend out there at Gallows sitting at a table, and they said that the guy at the table was making racist jokes, and I was laughing at him, and I was like, so,
right?
I mean, at the end of the day, so is it? Are we not allowed to laugh at funny stuff? Black people make racist jokes about white people all the time, and it's on every comedy special from here to the end of the world and back. Mm-hmm. And it's all funny. We laugh at jokes about us. I mean, it's like, it's okay to laugh.
Yeah, I think that roast of Tom Brady, did you get a chance to watch that finally?
Not all of it. I'm about an hour and a half in.
I mean, they're all making racial and ethnic jokes at each other's expense, which I thought was it was really funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's okay. I mean, it's kind of like, and I don't want to feel like I'm talking about just black people here, but I kind of am. We've reached this point where they a lot of them act like nobody's allowed to laugh at their expense.
Yeah, I mean,
especially the LGBTQ crowd, but I don't want to lump the two together.
No, I mean, I think it's just our culture right now, where it's just, we've got to issue an apology for, like, maybe making something that might seem like a joke or whatever it is. We just kind of lumped ourselves into that kind of culture where everything is just off limits. That's mildly offensive. Even, there's a thing I saw this morning about, they're talking about South Park did something about Lizzo.
That was great. And Lizzo watched it and she was crying, which made it even better.
What did they exactly do? Make fun of her taking Ozempic or something?
No, she's not taking Ozempic. they created a new medicine, and they called it Lizzo instead of Ozempic. Okay. And it doesn't make you lose weight; it just makes you be fat and proud.
You know,
I haven't watched the whole thing, but I watched the skit. I watched Lizzo watching herself be made fun of.
Oh, I mean, well, South Park, you know, has done this for decades, right? They've attacked one of my friends.
Everybody.
One of my friends, he's a black lawyer, and he'll call people South Park racist. And I'm like, what does that mean? And he's like, it means you just hate everybody. You know, you're just.
I think that's me.
Yeah, you just equal onto everybody.
An equal opportunity.
South Park racist.
Poop thrower.
Yeah, because I mean, you think about one of my favorite South Park episodes is when the Japanese come here and convince a lot of the kids in that Sid town to like attack Pearl Harbor, you know, by saying they have big American, you know what, and like denigrating themselves. And I mean, it's all that's really funny.
Well, it's like Dave Chappelle when he does his stand-ups, and he'll get to telling making some black jokes basically, and white people will be laughing. And now, white people,
yeah,
now it's y'all's turn.
Yeah,
and it's like, you know, if you laugh at. No, you're going to be laughed at.
Right.
Your time is coming. And it's okay, man. It's okay to make the jokes. It's okay to make the Asian jokes with their little things. And, you know, I mean, what do black people eat? What do white people eat? What are our isms? You know, it's like it's okay to talk about these things. And it's okay to laugh about them. Yes, what is still saying? Laugh through the pain sometimes?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
like, sometimes you got to take a bad situation and make it funny about it. Like, when is it okay to joke about this?
I mean, you met over St. Patty's Day. A bunch of mine were like long-time old friends, and a few of them are really close friends are Mexican, and I don't know how many illegal alien jokes I've made in their direction over the course of the last 30 years. But, and of course, and to me, what they do is like, well, I mean, don't you got to go rug to go sell this week? Or, you know, I mean, do you park your camel in front of the house? You know, it's just stuff like that. And so, I mean, I don't know. I just never take offense to it because it's just.
I mean, you know, it's like these aren't really jokes as much as they are insults. But it's like every time somebody wants to try to come at me, they call me like a Rankin County cousin.
Yeah, right. That's
cousin
what you
lover,
yeah.
For a lack of a better word. I'm like, I'm not even an Alabama fan.
Yeah, right. If you're like a white dude from Mississippi or anywhere where it's always like, you know, nothing says loving like marrying your cousin or something like that. Yeah,
just like, for whatever reason, apparently there's some incest issues in certain parts of the state, but not in mine. Not in my house. Anyway, it's all right to make fun of people, man.
Yeah, I think so,
Quit getting your feelings hurt. And it's especially okay to make fun of trans people.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say it in terms of if you're trans people that are like, that are not pushing a certain agenda, then yes. But if they're like the ones that are like, you know, hey man, I'm going to go like compete in the women's sport. Like what was that? Was it Oregon or Washington where they just won like the high school track meet? I mean, if anyone doesn't see how comical that is, like, is that like an achievement? I feel like it's getting caught fixing the World Series. You know what I mean? Like it's that ridiculous.
Speaking of which, let's laugh at one of these people now as we get ready for Pride Month kicking off here. Saturday morning, which we're going to have a huge Pride Month here on the Clay Edwards Show. We're going to find something to mock, meme, and laugh about every day, just like we did last year. We'll be the thought leaders in Pride Month celebration here in Central Mississippi. Here's a transgender TikToker who, in fact, claims that biological men can produce milk to feed a baby, and here's how he tells you how to do it.
You know, it sounds crazy, but
You had me at it sounds crazy. It does sound crazy.
You know, it sounds crazy, but trans women can produce milk to feed a baby.
And just to be clear, when they say trans women, they're talking about men.
Mm-hmm. Here's how. Step 1, you must grow your coconuts. After about 3 to 5 years of estrogen, you will have fully functional milk ducts from which you can feed a baby. So once your coconuts are grown, it is time to start producing milk. Now, normally getting pregnant would trigger milk production, but since trans women can't get pregnant, we must do it.
Well, at least this one's semi-sane. Admits that trans men can't get pregnant.
Okay.
Another way. Turns out this is not all that difficult to do. Just add a few extra hormones and supplements and pump your coconuts regularly, and you will start producing milk. Now, I can already see the criticisms, the comments coming through. There's no way this milk is safe to drink or nutritious or healthy, but it is scientifically proven to be. The one caveat is that a trans woman might not be able to produce enough milk to feed the baby, but what is produced is healthy and can always be supplemented with formula. Ultimately, the act of feeding your child yourself is affirming to anyone, not just trans people. It also helps the child form a secure attachment to their parent. And for the record, I have no interest in having kids or producing milk. I just think it's cool that you can do this in the first place.
Yep. So it's going to be a great Pride Month here on the Clay Edwards Show. We're going to have more of that all month. Guys, did you know that you can, in fact, grow your coconuts? That's what they're referring to, breast, and eventually get coconut milk out of them. Sean, I mean, need a good rum drink every now and then? Grow some boobies and turn them into coconut water providers. What the hell is this world coming to? We are in full clown world at this moment. Full clown world.
Yeah, I think it's so there was something actually. Speaking of that, I was looking at last night on Twitter. When you're always talking to Jay Allen there and stuff, and it was one of those threads about regarding sexual assaults in prisons, and they were arguing, oh well, no, it's not just because of transgender people, which is true. I mean, there's sexual assaults in female prisons that aren't related to transgender, of course, always has been. But I mean, so I read this is something I found last night that I did not know existed. Did you know the ACLU had a settlement back in 2021 with the state of New Jersey to allow you to go to which prison was by your gender identity? Mm-hmm. Did you hear about that before?
Yeah, and the people they were going were getting female prisoners knocked up.
Yeah. I mean, but I was thinking about this last night. Like how's that? We've reached that point of insanity where now the state settled with the ACLU and they were like, now we're gonna house trans women, which are men that have not had the procedure. I think maybe if they did, I'd feel differently, but haven't had the procedure with female inmates. And that takes the cake from even the sports thing to me. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to put guys in jail with women. What do you think's going to happen?
Yeah, if I got to go to prison for 10 or 20 years, do I want to go with a bunch of dudes and be their punching bag, so to say?
Right.
Or do I want to go with a bunch of women and them be my punching bag?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about punching in the physical violence sense.
Men rape other men that aren't, they say they weren't gay when they went in, and this thing's happened. So
it's prison gay. It's different.
Prison gay. It's different. So what do you think's going to happen when,
that's what they say.
I mean, that's what I've heard. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I've heard that before too. It's like, you've been there 20 years, whatever. But but you're going to put a guy in with girls, and everybody's like, oh my God, I can't believe there was these rapes. Like, really? Are we in Crazy Town? Like, that's not going to happen?
All right. Speaking of Crazy Town, I'm going to lump a couple segments here together. We're going to get on out of this and get back into the Goon Squad stuff.
Okay.
Speaking of crazy people, I can't let the show go without getting this Robert De Niro thing in. This is Robert De Niro outside the Trump trial yesterday. Speaking of clown world, we are at peak clown world when Robert De Niro when the Biden administration is having to send in an actor who's never done a real job in his life other than being an actor, trying to tell us what is going to happen to America if Trump wins.
And that's why it's so weird that Donald Trump is just across the street. Because he doesn't belong in my city. I don't know where he belongs, but he certainly doesn't belong here. We New Yorkers used to tolerate him when he was just another grubby real estate hustler masquerading as a big shot. A two-bit playboy lying his way into the tabloids, pretending to be a spokesperson for himself. He was calling it as himself for himself, to fool the press into inflating his net worth. A clown. But this city is pretty accommodating. We make room for clowns.
They made room for him, so we know they make room for clowns.
We have them all over the city. People who do crazy things in the street, we tolerate it. It's part of the city. It's part of the culture. But not a person like Trump who will eventually run the country. That does not work, and we all know that.
And behind him, he's got a couple of these fake J6, a couple of these J6 policemen who continue to lie and say that people died that day and this, that, and the other. It was quite the crap show out there in front of the Trump trial yesterday. And what's funny is the Biden-Harris HQ Twitter.
So weird Donald Trump is.
The Biden-Harris HQ Twitter shared this, like thinking that they owned. I mean, this is literally the headline from the official Biden-Harris campaign Twitter. It says, Robert De Niro, Donald Trump doesn't belong in my city. We New Yorkers used to tolerate him. And when he was just another grubby real estate hustler masquerading as a big shot, a two-bit playboy lying his way into the tabloids, he's a clown, but this person can't run the country. That does not work, and we all know that. Says this guy. I have to wonder, what Epstein-type videos do they have of Robert De Niro to send him out there into a Dunkin' booth like this?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Robert De Niro, what's he, like 83 now, I think? So 83, 84. He's pretty old.
I mean, like, who do they think sees that and thinks to themselves, man, I was on the fence, but De Niro's right?
Well, you know, you actually bring up a good point, and I'm gonna put this on either side. Nobody's convincing anybody at this point. You know what I mean? It's almost like you can scream. I don't care if you're on the right or your left. You can scream as hard as you want. Everybody's got their position on that. You know what's going to make a difference?
It's why I don't try to convince people.
It doesn't work. I mean, it's not gonna. You know, people got their positions, and that's what it is. I think the only thing you can do is try to kind of what we do is like try to like just hear the other person.
Talk it out and let people make up their mind.
Yeah, instead of like demonizing them, which is what De Niro's kind of doing, I think there. You know, I think the thing that's going to matter here is what the outcome of this trial is, what the verdict is, one way or the other. I know they've said, of course, and I think this is the Biden campaign more than anybody else, that a guilty verdict is going to help them. I don't necessarily believe that in my mind. What I do think that a not guilty verdict is going to severely hurt them.
Yeah.
I think that is going to happen. My prediction is probably a hung jury. That's my guess. If
that's been your call since it started, and even more so after the trial.
Yeah, after watching that trial, even I'm leaning towards an acquittal. Really, even like, but I think I would put my odds if I was betting, I'd bet it on the hung jury. But then my secondary bet would be acquittal. I don't see a guilty verdict coming from this. Now, if it happens, I'm completely wrong, and then I'm going to say that the jury was,
tainted at best.
Yeah, I just don't see how they come to a guilty verdict in the case. But
maybe we'll go back and take a look at this. But I'm going to be very curious because I've heard horror stories about the judge, leaning this in the prosecution's favor, and what type of Adrian Wooten style instructions could he give the jury to get the verdict he wants.
Well, I mean, the thing about that, I'm telling you from personal experience, the lawyers submit the instructions. On each side will submit instructions, and there's the court's instructions, which are usually just the standard instructions the court gives in every trial. And then the lawyers will submit, the prosecution and the defense will submit their instructions, and they'll argue over them, which ones will come in, and some do and some don't. And that's the way it works out in every trial.
Sounds good. We'll be right back with SHAUN Yurtkuran on The Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Guys, get over to Noel Daniels Motor Company today, right there in Brandon, Mississippi, right on the other side of Highway 80 from the Cross Gates subdivision. It's located on Woodgate Drive. If you're heading east or west on Highway 80, right there through Cross Gates, where the Mazzio's Pizza is, right back there behind that, right by the big Complete Fitness old club. Easy to find. 219 Woodgate Drive. That's Noel Daniels Motor Company. Of course, Noel Daniels, 50 years in the car business. He's an absolute icon in Rankin County and Central Mississippi. Everybody knows him, a little Mort, doing the commercials. One of my first jobs ever was working for Noel at a previous dealership he was a part of. And look, him and Daniel Freeman have teamed up, and Daniel is one of the best dudes I know. Gonna do you right, gonna go above and beyond. You got a great team over there, just good folks. Who knows? Maybe one day your boy retires to selling cars for Noel Daniels, because it is a great place to work, great people. They got all your late model vehicles. I'm sitting here looking at a 2021 Hyundai Palisade. This thing is fine. I never thought I would say that about a Hyundai. It's an SUV. It's all white, got black wheels, tinted windows, really sharp SUV. They got F-150s, 250s, and more available. And don't forget, they're your home for Icon electric golf carts and scooters. Check them out. Super cool. They got some really, really, really hyper customized ones over there with some neon lights and sound systems and all that done by Bo Knows Customs, Bo Rogel. Get over there. Check it out today. Start online at noeldaniels.cars. And don't forget, they buy cars too. So if you're looking to sell your car, stop by, see them, let them make you a on-the-spot offer, give you a check today, a local check, not a certified fake marketplace check. You know what? Y'all know how I feel about marketplace. Kingfish gets mad at me every time I talk about don't meet people on Marketplace in Jackson, but don't meet people on Marketplace in Jackson, and definitely don't take a certified check from people on Marketplace anywhere for that matter.
Anywhere, or don't take a check from anyone anywhere. Anytime.
Period. And if you take cash, take a counterfeit money checker.
Yeah.
Sean, all right, our time's a little wonky, so we're supposed to take a break at 8:35, but we're not. We're going to push it to 8:40 because I don't want to jump straight back into a break, but we're going to have to borrow from Peter to pay Paul on our time here. Mm-hmm. Let's jump into the Goon Squad.
Okay.
All right, you've read it. I hadn't. Tell us what's going on.
This morning,
hold on. Yep. And just so y'all know, it's not because I wasn't being professional. It came out at 4 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
And I didn't get up till 5:30, so Sean was awake. He took the assignment to read it.
Yes, I'm the crazy person that wakes up at 4 in the morning. So the New York Times and Mississippi Today, you guys can look at it on there, dropped an article with Jerry Mitchell and Nate Rosenfeld and Brian Howey, who have been the ones writing these articles about the Goon Squad over the course of the last year. And this one involves a WhatsApp that was, I think it was entitled the you know how you can group name your WhatsApp groups, and it was called the Goon Squad or Goon Squad, something like that. And it generally just mentions things that these guys have said in this group chat it was all the members of the Goon Squad were part of the WhatsApp group, and then others also, not just the ones that we know about. Now and I'm not going to name names, but you can, if you want to read it, it's in there. And they were talking about doing things to people, like, they were sending pictures of dead bodies to each other, and they were joking about, tasing people in the anus, and they just general sexual references, and a lot of stuff like that. Things that they'd they did a point system for arrests that they had, and did you get more points if you kill someone? Now, of course, none of these things were substantiated in terms of did they actually do these things. A lot of it, the way I took it, a lot of it is, it's off-color jokes a lot. Bravado. Yeah. I mean, and when you're in that world, I was in the world of, the DA's office, and I can tell you, I made a lot of jokes, and you can know my personality, a lot of jokes about, dead bodies, autopsy photos.
I was going to say, you got to get numb to seeing dead bodies.
You do. You see the worst things ever. Yeah, exactly, Clay. I mean, you got to get, I've got ER doctor friends that kind of do the same thing. So I kind of see where this is, just kind of reading it from through those lens. I know, just you're in that world, and so you make jokes. Now, the thing with the Goon Squad is that there's a lot of things they actually did that were in relation to this, so that makes it kind of worse because they were, joking about stuff and here and they and then I think one thing they actually had a video of which this is not good. They some suspect they defecated in their bed, so, and they had a video of it, and they put that through the chat.
The suspect defecated in their bed?
No, the deputy.
One of the deputies defecated in the suspect's bed?
Yeah, and they had a video of it.
Man, that's just weird.
That is weird.
There's just some weird stuff that I just don't think, and I always try to give cops the benefit of the doubt. But there's just some weird stuff. I hope your kids are out of the cars this morning. You got a 5-second warning here. I'm going to say something sexually explicit. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The dildos.
Yeah.
That's weird, man.
It's so weird. And about Dedman, wasn't he trying to hump one guy or something? And
yeah, some inappropriate stuff on the side of the road.
Yeah.
We'll just say that. I think maybe something Eli Manning got accused of doing to somebody that was drunk and passed out in Ole Miss his freshman year. Something about teas and bags of teas or
teabagging.
I was trying not to say it like that.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, it is strange that they had this kind of weird sexual behavior, and then also now with defecating in the bed, and and doing. I don't know what the purpose of all that was.
Satanism, not satanic, it's sadistics.
Like
BDSM.
BDSM a little bit, or sadist or something.
Sadist, that's what I'm trying to say.
Something like that. I mean, it's just strange. They also, they said they talked about, they discussed taking nude pictures of the women they arrested, and if they actually did that, that's pretty horrible. If they made some woman undress and take a photograph of her.
Here's the thing, and you said it, but I just want to elaborate on it. Where they lose the benefit of the doubt is the stuff they've pled guilty to is so horrendous. The melting of a nutcracker on somebody's inner thigh, just all the weird obsession they had with torturing people with food, and that's just some of the other. We could go on and on and on. Shooting a guy in the mouth, tasers and
the whipped cream. Didn't they put whipped cream all over them too at one point?
Yeah, just food torture
food. Yeah, I mean, just strange stuff. I mean, I guess there's a difference. Like, if the story was, well, the goon squad just whipped that dude too much. Some dude. I'm not saying the ones they did, and that was it. Yeah, you'd be like, okay, that's bad. But then you add all this other stuff on top of it, and you're like, okay, this is bad and very weird. Like, should you guys have had been psychologically evaluated before you became police officers? Like, there was just like, you're not just like, okay, like, yeah, we were talking about this a lot of times. The cops go out, stuff get a little rough. It happens. You know what I mean? But you do that, and I'm not talking about shooting the guy in the mouth. I'm just talking like there's some guy you arrest, you rough him up, whatever.
I tell the story all the time. I got roughed up once or twice, and it changed my life.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, and
for the better.
But I mean, if they roughed you up and then like took a birthday cake and smashed it in your face, it'd be a little odd, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, why this next step is like a humiliation thing for them, or
a humiliation ritual?
Yeah, it's just
well, maybe it's because they were keeping points, and if you were able to introduce food to the equation, you got more points. And I guess my next question would be, was anybody tracking these points? And what did the winner get? How often did they redeem their prize?
Yeah, I think they got. I think they were. I don't know about. I mean, they set up a point system. Like, was the dildo like 3 points though? That's my question. Like, if it's like, is there like a tier? Like, you beat them up 1 point, food, and then the dildo thing. And the nutcracker was like 4 points. So maybe that's how they did it. I don't know. But then they talked about like, killing somebody and burning them up and putting it on the, burn them up in their car and putting it on one of the guys' land. I think it was Middleton's land they were talking about putting out there. So just weird stuff.
So what do you take from it?
That these guys are sociopaths. I mean, that's the only thing I could, and not all. I don't know that there was other people in the group when I'm reading the article that were just making off-color. They interviewed them, and I kind of like, that's where I'm going to give some sympathy here, where my sympathy was to those guys that were just like, have not been accused of doing anything illegal.
Just kind of roped in the locker room talk.
Yeah, they're roped in the locker room talk, man. Like any one of us could be. Like, that is totally something that happens. So those guys, I feel, have some sympathy for if they were not involved in anything, like these other guys. But there's not been any accusations, so I don't know that they have.
Well, it's like all the other guys that got named in some of that other reporting that Jerry and them did, where like more names were released as far as like people who were associated with different cases. Like, yeah, it's one thing to be associated with a case because you could have been there and that happens.
Yeah, but
that doesn't mean you were there for the torture or that you co-signed on any of that.
Right, exactly. And it's just like here, there may be some guys in the WhatsApp group that are just talking and they didn't really do anything. And then, of course, there's the ones in the group like Middleton and Dedman. They were. We know that. They did make a reference to Brian Bailey in there that said something like, do you think number one would approve of the Goon Squad? And that's like in 2019. So maybe they're saying he did know at that time, but maybe learned later. I don't know exactly what to make of that, but that is a statement in the article.
What is your gut feeling as far as Brian's awareness after reading this?
Well,
does it change any, or is it still kind of?
There's that one statement I'm trying to find in here by Middleton that said, like, what do you think number one? And they're referring, number one's his badge number because he's a sheriff. He's number one, or they're referring to him as number one. I think is what it says. So I don't know. It seems like maybe at that time he didn't know that they had called themselves the Goon Squad. So I think that's a very different thing. I mean, they may have been committing these acts and just not coined themselves the Goon Squad at that point. They just later maybe said, like, okay, now we've got an official title for messed upness. And overall, do I think he knew about it? My gut's telling me that, yeah, he knew about it. I mean, I don't see how he couldn't have.
All right, we got to take a break. Damien texted in on the Guns and Gear text line. Damien, we're referencing a New York Times article that came out this morning. Sean, it should be available on Mississippi Today too as well.
It is, yeah. If you don't have a subscription New York Times, it is on the Mississippi Today as well.
Is it MississippiToday.org or .com?
.org.
MississippiToday.org and New York Times, nytimes.com. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Real quick, guys, Foremost Foundations and Construction. For foundations, Foremost uses innovative polyfoam technology that, with great precision, can correct and restore sinking concrete quickly. They provide solutions for the long term that can improve the ability of the actual soil to support the foundation or concrete slabs. Thanks to their specially designed rigs, they can drill and lift without the need for heavy excavation, and guys, you know that equals money saved. The team has decades worth of experience. They've tried all the old tricks, they know what works, and they have weeded out the ways which do not. Experts in foundation repair, polyfoam, drainage, seawalls, and retaining walls. Foremost Foundations with an S. ForemostFoundations.com. And guys, don't forget, today and tomorrow are your last days to get your order in for Stonington Farm grass-fed, grass-finished beef. They'll be coming up here to Central Mississippi Friday with your deliveries. Check them out online today. Stonington, with two N's, StoningtonFarm.com. Sean, you said you wanted to clear something up?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. To clarify, the question he asked is did Brian Bailey know about this, and would this indicate this article? And I think it does, actually, where I got confused and I had somebody that actually cleared it up for me a little bit. The way it's worded is not great. Here it says, in 2020, deputies exchanged messages about creating a challenge coin, a commemorative token commonly shared by members of a particular unit in the military or law enforcement. Lieutenant Middleton initially suggested that their coin feature images of a noose and Confederate flag. They discussed how Sheriff Bailey would react, referring to him by his badge number 1. I'm not sure how number 1 will feel about the Goon Squad. Middleton wrote, well, what he meant to say was coin, Goon Squad coin. Apparently he knew, like they're indicating he knew about the Goon Squad. He just didn't know about this coin. So, and they're saying that they didn't think he would approve of the noose and the Confederate flag on the coin. So that's what they're referring to, like how he would feel about the Goon Squad coin. So it's indicating to me that he knew about the Goon Squad. He just they hadn't run the coin by him yet.
So were they being sarcastic about a noose and a Confederate flag? Because surely, I mean, goes back to the benefit of the doubt thing here. Surely they weren't that unself-aware that that's a terrible idea.
I think Middleton seemed to me, it's what I'm reading here, just based on what I'm reading, that he wanted to do that, but I guess Bailey, to his credit, they didn't think Bailey would be cool with that. Bailey's like, wait, it's a little too far. Maybe we don't need the noose and the Confederate flag. So, I mean, so Middleton seems like he's all into it. Like, let's put the noose and the Confederate flag on there. But even Sheriff Bailey they thought he would have been like, nah, that ain't cool.
I want to, I'm not saying I'm right here. I'm saying I want to believe that was facetious and being taken out of context, because there's, of course, based on their actions, it's hard to argue otherwise.
Right.
But my goodness, to think that would be acceptable in any form, fashion, or way, especially in this day and age. Maybe I'll give you the Confederate flag.
Yeah.
But the noose and that, bro, look, I can argue anything out of being racism in the world. You can't argue that.
No, I mean, when you put a noose and Confederate flag, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious what that indicates. What you're trying to put, like, you're talking about black people right there. I mean, that's what you're doing with the noose, and I mean, that's historically what it's linked to in the Confederate flag. Yeah. So I think
we all know that when you link the two together,
yeah.
If you want your rebel flag, by all means, fly your rebel flag. Heritage, whatever you want to call it. That's not my argument. Mm-hmm. But when you mix in the noose and that, you've eliminated any gray area.
100%. Yeah, I think if they just said we want the Confederate flag on the back and they're Southern pride, I would feel. I think I'd feel like that. I'd be like, okay, well, whatever you want. But
I still think you lack self-awareness in this modern age. Mm-hmm. But whatever, teach their own.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't suggest putting it on there, but I don't think it means the same when you put both of them together and you're saying Confederate flag and noose. And I mean, again, I do think it's interesting how they didn't think Bailey would approve of that on the coin, which also, like I said, which is okay. Good on Bailey that he wouldn't approve that, but he approved of the goon squad because, like, if they're going to show him a coin that they're making, that indicates that he knew of their existence. Because if that's something they're going to run by him, a coin.
Let's take a call real quick on the Mazda Jackson phone line. Hey, caller, you're on the air. You got about 60 seconds.
Hey, real quick, I was just curious. So what's the positive, like, aspect or symbol of the Confederate flag? Apparently I'm missing something.
In what context?
And the fact that it's defendable, and just the fact of, like, for everything that the Confederates stood for, what, like, you said a rebel flag? Like, what is that? Like, I don't know what that is. Like, I'm curious.
Oh, I've always called it the rebel flag more so than the Confederate. I'll answer that. Thanks, brother. Look, I'm not going to – one of them arguments where one side firmly believes it only means racism and another side firmly thinks it just means Dixie, the Old South. And a lot of the Old South to people ain't just about racism. It's just their history. It's what they grew up. I mean, the Ole Miss Rebels were the Rebels forever. I mean, that's why I never really cared for it myself because I never liked Ole Miss, and I associated it with being Ole Miss. I thought it was cool when it was on the hood of the Dukes of Hazzard, the roof of the Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, it was just a symbol growing up in the South, and it's now a relic of days gone by.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how both groups could take it either way. I mean, I totally see that. I mean, I can see how somebody that's, born in the South, that's like, this is part of our history, and they're into that, and not be a racist. Like, I can see that. But I can see also on the flip side how people could look at it and be like, that looks pretty racist. So, I mean, I can kind of see that.
And I just want to be honest. I mean, it's red, white, blue. It's kind of a cool looking flag if you remove all the everything out of it. I know some people have a very hard time compartmentalizing and doing stuff like that, but it kind of looks cool. I mean, I don't know, but I've never owned one. Don't have any intentions of owning one.
Me either.
But I can understand when people think, hey, I think it's part of my heritage, and my heritage is not about racism. It's about Southern pride and Dixie and all that. And I know a lot of times people just that line between Southern heritage and racism, because they're so intertwined, people can't separate the two.
It's hard. It's just what it is. It's divisive to people, on both sides. But I think when you couple that with the noose, then you're making a statement.
You've eliminated the gray area.
You have.
I'm going to close on this before we go to the break. I think they were being facetious. I do not think they were going to put a noose and a rebel flag on it with the goon squad of Rankin County on the other side. If they would have all been fired immediately, goon squad shenanigans aside, if that had gotten made. So that's what my thoughts on that. Let's take a break, come back, land the plane. Back into the Clay Edwards show. Sean, we got 40 seconds, man. Good show today.
Yeah.
We managed to make it through the whole show without talking about Chockway or Jody Owens, so I just wanted to say their names just to keep the streak alive.
Say his name.
Say his name. Say his name. Well, we'll see how all that shakes out. A lot to come if you believe if you're reading the tea leaves. So we'll see. Should be an interesting couple of weeks, months here in the capital city. Sean Yurtkuran, I will see you Friday. Podcast to be available here shortly. Just search Clay Edwards Show. Follow me on social media @SaveJXN. Peace.